She texts you good morning. She laughs at your jokes. She tells you that you're different from other guys. And you believe her. But here's what Arthur Schopenhauer understood about human nature that most men never grasp. The will to live drives every action, every smile, every touch, every word. People do not act from conscious choice. They act from deep unconscious drives they cannot name and do not control. So when a woman says she cares about you, the question is not whether she means it. The question is whether her actions reveal a drive that runs deeper than words, deeper than performance, deeper than what she herself even knows. Tonight, I am going to show you 6 behaviors that cannot be faked. 6 patterns that emerge only when a woman's unconscious mind has already chosen you. Not as an option, not as entertainment, but as the man she will protect, defend, and sacrifice for without hesitation. Robert Greene wrote that people reveal themselves most clearly through their actions over time. Words are noise, patterns are truth. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly which patterns separate real love from convincing theater. Pay close attention. What you learn here will change how you see every relationship you have ever had, and every one you will have in the future. Let me start with something most men completely miss. You have been trained to measure a woman's interest by what she says, by compliments, by affection, by promises. But Schopenhauer warned us that conscious thought is merely the surface of a vast ocean. Beneath the words lies the will, and the will does not speak. It acts. So forget what she tells you. Watch what she does when nothing is at stake. Watch what she does when no one is looking. Watch what she does when she believes you will never find out. That is where truth lives. The first sign a woman loves you is invisible until you know where to look. She begins to manage the space around you, not by controlling you, not by making demands, but by quietly removing obstacles you never even noticed. Here is what this looks like in practice. You come home drained, depleted. You do not say a word about your day. But somehow, the environment shifts. The television stays off. Conversations stay light. Problems that could wait until tomorrow suddenly wait until tomorrow. She creates silence where there was noise, stillness where there was chaos, space where there was pressure. And she does this without asking for credit, without announcing her sacrifice, without making you feel like you owe her something in return. Robert Greene calls this the art of presence, the ability to read a room so well that you become invisible while shaping everything. Most people use this power to manipulate, to control, to extract, but a woman in love uses it to protect. Why does this matter? Because this behavior cannot be faked over time. It requires genuine attention. It requires her to study you so closely that she knows your rhythms better than you know them yourself. A woman who does not love you will never invest that kind of energy. She will never watch that carefully. She will never adjust that precisely. Machiavelli wrote that people are fundamentally self-interested. They act for reward or from fear. But when a woman shields your energy without seeking recognition, she reveals something that breaks this rule. She reveals that your well-being has become entangled with her own. Your exhaustion exhausts her. Your peace gives her peace. Your rise lifts something inside her that she cannot name. This is not performance. This is fusion. Now here is the test. Think about the last time you were depleted around her. Did the environment get louder or quieter? Did demands increase or decrease? Did she notice without being told? If she created space for you to recover without making it about herself, you are witnessing something rare. something that most men search their entire lives to find and never do. But if she added pressure, if she made your exhaustion about her feelings, if she needed reassurance when you had nothing left to give, then you have important information. Information you must not ignore. Schopenhauer said that a person's character is fixed. It does not change. It only reveals itself more clearly over time. So when you see how a woman responds to your weakness, you are not seeing a temporary behavior. You are seeing who she actually is, who she will always be. And this brings me to something crucial. Many men mistake attention for love. They think that because a woman notices them, she must care deeply. But attention and protection are not the same thing. Attention can be strategic. Attention can be self-serving. Attention can be part of a game she is playing with herself more than with you. Protection is different. Protection costs something. Protection requires that she put your needs above her own impulse to speak, to react, to make the moment about herself. When you see a woman protect your energy without announcement, without expectation, without keeping score, you are seeing the first proof that her unconscious mind has made a choice her words could never make, a choice her surface thoughts do not control. She is not performing love. She is living it. Now that you understand how a woman protects your energy in private, I need to show you what happens in public. Because this is where most men get completely fooled. A woman can hold your hand in front of her friends. She can post you on social media. She can call you her boyfriend with a smile on her face. And none of it means what you think it means. Robert Greene observed that social performance is the oldest game humans play. We learn it in childhood. We master it in adulthood. And we become so skilled at it that we fool even ourselves. A woman can perform partnership in public while feeling nothing in private. She can display affection for an audience while keeping her heart locked in a vault you will never access. So how do you know the difference? You look for the one behavior that cannot be performed, the one action that costs too much to fake. Point 2. She defends your reputation when you are absent. The second sign a woman loves you is what she says when you are not in the room. This is the true test. The moment she believes you will never hear what happens next. The moment when performance serves no purpose. The moment when the only audience is people whose opinions do not affect you directly. That is when her real loyalty reveals itself. Picture this scene. She is with her closest friends. Wine is poured. Conversation flows. And someone makes a comment about you. Maybe subtle, maybe sharp, maybe disguised as a joke. Something about your career, your looks, your habits, your past. A woman who does not love you will do one of three things. She will laugh along to maintain social harmony. She will stay silent to avoid discomfort. Or she will add her own criticism to bond with the group at your expense. But a woman who loves you does something different. Something that most people never do because it costs too much. She stops the conversation. Not with drama. Not with aggression. Not with a lecture about loyalty. She simply refuses to participate. She changes her body language. Her energy shifts. The room feels her withdrawal before she even speaks. And then she says something simple. Something like, "That's not how I see him." Or, "I don't think that's fair." Or just, "I'd rather not talk about him like this." The words matter less than what they reveal. She chose you over social comfort. She chose your name over group approval. She chose an awkward silence over easy laughter at your expense. Schopenhauer understood that most human behavior is driven by the desire to avoid pain. Social rejection is pain. Conflict is pain. Standing alone against a group is pain. So when a woman voluntarily accepts that pain to protect your reputation, she reveals something her words could never prove. She has internalized you. You are no longer separate from her. An attack on you feels like an attack on herself. Your name has become her name. Your honor has become her honor. This is not conscious choice. This is identity fusion. Jung wrote about the process of psychological integration, how we absorb parts of others into our own sense of self. When this happens with a romantic partner, their wounds become our wounds. Their victories become our victories. Their reputation becomes something we guard as fiercely as our own. You cannot fake this integration. You cannot perform it for an audience. Because the test happens precisely when there is no audience that matters, when the only people watching are people whose opinions you will never hear. Now, here is what makes this so rare. Most people are fundamentally cowardly when it comes to social pressure. Nietzsche called the masses the herd. He described how most humans surrender their individual will to group consensus because standing alone feels like death. The herd instinct is survival instinct, and going against the herd triggers the same fear as physical danger. So when a woman defends you against her own social circle, she is overriding millions of years of evolutionary programming. She is choosing you over her own survival instinct. She is saying, through action rather than words, that her bond with you matters more than her bond with the tribe. This is extraordinarily rare. Most women will never do this. Most men will never experience it. And the reason is simple. This level of defense only emerges when love has penetrated past the conscious mind into the deeper layers of identity. Let me give you a practical test. Think about what happens when you are not present and your name comes up. You may never know for certain, but there are clues. Does she tell you when someone criticized you? Does she seem uncomfortable when you ask about conversations with her friends? Does she change the subject quickly? A woman who defends you will often report these moments to you, not to create drama, but because the defense felt significant to her, because she wants you to know that she stood for you, because the memory of that moment matters. And if she never mentions anything like this, if conversations about you seem to happen without friction, if your name floats through her social world without anyone ever pushing back, then one of two things is true. Either no one ever tests her loyalty to you, or she fails the test so quietly that there is nothing to report. Neither option tells you what you want to hear. You now understand what happens when she is with her friends and you are not there. You know that real loyalty reveals itself in the moments when performance serves no purpose. But there is another test. A test that happens before any commitment is made, before any label is given, before you have any right to expect anything from her at all. And this test reveals more than almost anything else. The third sign a woman loves you is that she eliminates competition without being told. Let me explain what I mean. When a woman is dating casually, she keeps her options open. She replies to messages from other men. She accepts invitations that have nothing to do with you. She maintains relationships that exist specifically because they might become something more. This is rational behavior. Robert Greene would call it strategic positioning. She is protecting herself from loss by maintaining alternatives. She is hedging against the possibility that you will disappoint her, leave her, or turn out to be different than you seemed. But something shifts when love enters the picture. She begins to close doors, not because you demanded it, not because you gave her an ultimatum, not because she fears losing you if she does not comply. She closes doors because keeping them open starts to feel wrong. The other men who used to make her feel desired now make her feel uncomfortable. The flirtation that used to feel harmless now feels like betrayal. The attention she once enjoyed now feels like a distraction from something more important. And she acts on this feeling before you ever raise the subject. She stops responding to certain messages. She creates distance from certain friendships. She removes herself from situations where temptation might test her. She does this quietly, without announcement, without asking for credit. This is what Schopenhauer meant when he wrote about the will acting before conscious thought understands why. Her conscious mind might not fully grasp what is happening. She might not be able to articulate why she suddenly feels different about attention from other men. But her unconscious mind has already decided. It has already chosen you. And her behavior begins to align with that choice before her words catch up. Now here is why this matters so much. Any woman can become exclusive after you define the relationship. Any woman can close doors once commitment is established and expectations are clear. That behavior proves nothing except that she understands social contracts. But a woman who closes doors before you ask? A woman who eliminates alternatives before she has any obligation to do so? That woman is revealing something much deeper. She is telling you that the thought of being with someone else has become uncomfortable, that the option of other men has lost its appeal, that you have already become singular in her mind, even though nothing official has been declared. Machiavelli wrote that you can judge a person's true allegiance by what they do when they are free to do otherwise, when there is no contract, no obligation, no surveillance. What someone chooses in that moment of complete freedom tells you everything about where their loyalty actually lives. A woman closing doors before commitment is choosing you in a moment of complete freedom. She has no obligation to do so. You have made no demands. She could keep every option open, and you would never know. But she chooses to narrow her world anyway. She chooses to eliminate alternatives that could protect her if things go wrong with you. That is not strategy. That is surrender. And surrender, in this context, is the beginning of real love. Jung described the process of projection and withdrawal, how we project our inner desires onto external objects, and then slowly withdraw those projections as we become more conscious. When a woman loves you, she withdraws her projections from other men. They stop representing possibility. They stop carrying the weight of what could be. All of that weight transfers to you. You become the only screen onto which she projects her future. Now, let me give you the warning that comes with this sign. If a woman keeps doors open long into your relationship, she is telling you something important. It does not matter what she says. It does not matter how she explains it. The doors she keeps open are escape routes she is maintaining just in case. And escape routes are only maintained by people who are considering escape. Epictetus taught that we should focus only on what is within our control. You cannot force a woman to close doors. You cannot demand that she eliminate other options. Any closure that comes from your pressure is not real closure. It is compliance. And compliance lasts only as long as the pressure does. What you can do is observe. Watch whether doors close on their own. Watch whether her world narrows naturally in your direction. Watch whether alternatives fade without you needing to say a word. If they do, you are witnessing the third sign. The sign that her unconscious mind has already made its choice. The sign that her behavior is aligning with a decision her conscious mind may not even understand yet. And if they do not close? If doors stay open month after month? If other men remain possibilities no matter how much time passes? Then you have the answer to a question you may have been afraid to ask. You have seen how she protects your energy without announcement, how she defends your name when you are absent, how she closes doors before you ever ask her to. These three signs reveal a woman whose unconscious mind has already chosen you. But there is a fourth sign that goes even deeper, a sign that reveals not just choice, but transformation. Because when a woman truly loves you, something fundamental changes in how she moves through the world. And this change is impossible to manufacture. The fourth sign a woman loves you is that she begins to orbit your purpose. Let me be precise about what I mean. This is not about a woman abandoning herself. This is not about her becoming your servant or losing her identity in your shadow. What I am describing is far more subtle and far more powerful. When a woman loves you, your goals begin to matter to her in a way that changes her behavior. Not because you asked, not because she feels obligated, but because your success has become emotionally linked to her own sense of well-being. She starts to learn the details of what you are building. She remembers names you mentioned once. She asks questions that reveal she has been thinking about your challenges when you were not around. She adjusts her own schedule not out of sacrifice, but because your timing has become relevant to her life. Robert Greene wrote about the concept of mirroring, how we unconsciously adopt the patterns of people we admire or desire. But what I am describing goes beyond mirroring. This is integration. This is a woman weaving your purpose into the fabric of her own daily existence. And here is what separates this from unhealthy obsession. She does not disappear. She does not abandon her own goals. She does not become a hollow reflection of your ambition with nothing of her own left inside. Instead, she creates a rhythm where both purposes coexist, where her world and your world begin to share the same heartbeat without either one consuming the other. Schopenhauer described the will as the fundamental force driving all life. Each person has their own will, their own driving energy, their own unconscious purpose pulling them forward. When two people truly love each other, their wills begin to harmonize. Not merge, not dominate. Harmonize. You see this in small moments. She knows when to be silent because you are working through a problem. She knows when to push you because you are avoiding something difficult. She knows the difference between your productive solitude and your destructive isolation. She has studied you closely enough to understand the mechanics of how you operate at your best. And she uses that knowledge to support your forward motion without ever competing with it. This is extraordinarily rare. Most relationships are defined by friction over priorities. His goals versus her goals. His time versus her time. His attention versus her attention. The negotiation never ends because neither person has truly absorbed the other's purpose into their own system. But when a woman loves you at the level I am describing, the negotiation stops. Not because she surrendered, not because she gave up her own will, but because she genuinely began to want what you want. Your victory became her victory. Your progress became her progress. Your purpose became woven into her own definition of a life well lived. Nietzsche wrote about the will to power, the fundamental drive to express strength, to create, to overcome resistance. When a woman absorbs your mission, she is not weakening her will to power. She is expanding it. She is including your purpose within the domain of what she is trying to build. Your success becomes an expression of her power, not a limitation of it. This is the difference between a woman who tolerates your ambition and a woman who genuinely joins it. The woman who tolerates sees your work as competition for her attention. She supports you with resentment hidden underneath. She gives you space while counting the cost. She waits for the season when your focus will finally turn fully to her. The woman who joins your mission feels no resentment because there is nothing to resent. Your focus on your purpose does not feel like abandonment to her. It feels like something she is part of, something that belongs to her as much as it belongs to you. Now here is the practical marker you should look for. Does she remember the details of what you are building? Does she bring up your projects without being prompted? Does she offer thoughts that reveal she has been thinking about your challenges independently? Or does she seem checked out? Does she nod along without really listening? Does she change the subject quickly to things she cares about more? The difference is obvious once you know where to look. A woman who has absorbed your mission treats it like something that matters to her personally. A woman who has not treats it like background noise she endures for the sake of the relationship. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must focus on what is essential and let go of what is not. A woman who loves you begins to see your purpose as essential. Not because you convinced her, not because you sold her on your vision, but because her emotional system has already decided that your path and her path are somehow the same. That decision cannot be manufactured. It can only be observed. You now understand the first 4 signs: how she protects your energy, how she defends your name, how she closes doors without being asked, how she absorbs your mission without losing herself. Each of these reveals a woman whose unconscious mind has made a choice that goes deeper than words, deeper than promises, deeper than anything she could manufacture through performance. But there is a 5th sign, and this one terrifies most men to even think about. Because this sign only reveals itself in the moments you wish had never happened. The moments when you are not strong, not impressive, not the man you want her to see. The 5th sign a woman loves you is that she remains present when you fall apart. I need you to understand how rare this truly is. Most relationships are built on a foundation of performance. You show her your best self, your strength, your competence, your potential, and she responds to that version of you with affection and attraction. But that version is not complete. You know this. There is another side, a side that doubts, that fears, that fails, that breaks down in moments you cannot control. A side that you hide because you were taught that revealing it means losing everything. Schopenhauer understood that suffering is woven into existence itself. No one escapes it. No amount of success or strength eliminates the moments when life overwhelms you. The question is not whether you will break. The question is, who will be there when it happens? Most women are attracted to the image of strength. They invest in the performance. They commit to the highlight reel. And when the curtain falls and they see the man behind it, something shifts. The attraction fades. The respect diminishes. The relationship begins to die in ways that may take months or years to become visible. But a woman who loves you does something different. She stays, not out of obligation, not out of pity, not because she has nowhere else to go. She stays because her bond with you is not built on the image you project. It is built on something underneath the image, something that remains even when the performance collapses. Freud wrote about the unconscious as the repository of everything we hide from ourselves and others. Our fears, our shames, our wounds, the parts we bury because exposing them feels like death. When you collapse in front of a woman, you are giving her access to your unconscious. You are showing her what you work every day to hide. A woman who does not love you will use that access against you. Maybe not immediately, maybe not directly, but eventually, what she saw will become a weapon, a source of quiet contempt, a reason to seek something better elsewhere. A woman who loves you treats that access as sacred. She holds what she saw without judgment, without leverage, without the subtle shift in how she looks at you afterward. She witnessed your collapse, and her perception of you did not change. If anything, it deepened. This is what Jung meant when he wrote about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject and hide from the world. Integration happens when we can expose the shadow without destruction. When someone can see the darkest corners and remain present anyway. A woman who witnesses your shadow without withdrawing is offering you something almost no one receives. She is telling you that her love is not conditional on your performance, that she bonded to the real thing, not the advertisement. Now let me tell you why this is so difficult to find. We live in a world that punishes male vulnerability. From childhood, men are trained to conceal weakness, to project strength at all costs, to never let anyone see the cracks. This training works. It protects you from exploitation. It maintains the image that attracts opportunity and respect. But it also means that most men never discover whether the woman beside them loves the real person or just the presentation. Nietzsche wrote that what does not kill you makes you stronger. But he also understood that strength is not the absence of suffering. It is the capacity to endure suffering and emerge with your core intact. A woman who stays through your collapse is not witnessing weakness. She is witnessing the process by which real strength is forged. And her presence during that process is a gift that cannot be earned. Only given. Here is the difficult truth. You cannot test this in advance. You cannot simulate collapse to see how she responds. The only way to know is to live long enough together that real collapse eventually happens. And then to watch what she does. Does she move closer or further away? Does she offer presence or criticism? Does she hold space for your recovery or demand that you perform strength before you are ready? These questions cannot be answered theoretically. They can only be answered through time and through the accidents of life that break every man eventually. But when you find a woman who witnesses your collapse without withdrawing, you have found something that changes everything. Because now you know that you do not have to perform for her. You can be the full human being that you actually are. Flawed, struggling, sometimes failing, and still loved. That is not common. That is not guaranteed. That is the fifth sign. And most men live their entire lives without ever experiencing it. You have now seen 5 signs that cannot be faked. 5 behaviors that emerge only when a woman's unconscious mind has fully committed. 5 patterns that separate real love from performance. But there is one more sign, the 6th and final marker. And in many ways, this is the most important of all. Because this sign does not appear in a single moment. It appears across time. It reveals itself not through what she does, but through what she refuses to do, no matter how much pressure she faces. The 6th sign, a woman loves you, is that she sacrifices advantage to preserve the relationship. Let me explain what this means. Every relationship faces moments of temptation. Not just sexual temptation. I am talking about something broader. Opportunities to gain at the other person's expense. Chances to win an argument by using information that would cause permanent damage. Moments when betraying a confidence would benefit her socially. Situations where leaving would be easier than staying. These moments test something fundamental. They reveal whether a person values the relationship more than they value their own immediate advantage. Machiavelli wrote extensively about self-interest. He observed that most people will betray anyone when the benefit is high enough and the risk is low enough. Loyalty is performance until it becomes costly. Then the mask falls and the true calculation is revealed. But a woman who loves you breaks this pattern. She has information she could use against you. She does not use it. She has grievances she could share with others to gain sympathy. She keeps them private. She has moments of anger where cruelty would feel satisfying. She restrains herself anyway. She has opportunities to leave for someone who offers more. She stays. Not because she is weak. Not because she lacks options. Not because she fears being alone. She stays because the bond itself has become more valuable than anything she could gain by breaking it. This is what Schopenhauer meant when he wrote about the denial of the will, the moment when something transcends pure self-interest. When a person acts against their own advantage because something matters more than advantage itself. Robert Greene would call this strategic sacrifice, the willingness to lose a battle to win the war. But what I am describing goes deeper than strategy. This is not calculation. This is a woman who has internalized your partnership so completely that harming it feels like harming herself. She cannot betray you without betraying her own sense of who she is. Now let me tell you why this matters so much. Every relationship accumulates weapons over time. The longer you are with someone, the more ammunition you hand them. Secrets shared in vulnerable moments. Mistakes witnessed that no one else knows about. Fears confessed in the dark. Dreams revealed that would be embarrassing if made public. A woman who does not love you stores these weapons. She may not use them today. She may not use them for years. But they are catalogued somewhere in her mind, waiting for the moment when deploying them serves her purpose. A woman who loves you does not think in terms of weapons at all. What you shared with her is not ammunition. It is sacred. It belongs to the space between you and nowhere else. The thought of using it against you does not even occur to her, because doing so would violate something she values more than any advantage she could gain. Hobbes wrote that human beings in their natural state are at war with one another. That peace is only possible through structures that make betrayal costly. But love creates a different kind of peace, not enforced by external threat, but generated by internal transformation. A woman who loves you has moved beyond the war of all against all, at least with you, at least within the walls of what you have built together. Here is how you recognize this sign. Think about your conflicts. When you argue, does she fight to win or fight to resolve? Does she reach for the most damaging thing she could say? Or does she hold back even in anger? Does she protect your dignity even when she is furious with you? Think about your secrets. Do you feel safe having shared them? Or do you sense them being filed away somewhere, waiting to be retrieved when it serves her needs? Think about the moments when leaving would have been justified. When you failed her. When you made mistakes. When someone better was available and interested. Did she stay anyway? Not from weakness, but from choice? These patterns across time reveal the sixth sign, the sign that she has stopped calculating advantage in the way that most humans never stop calculating. The sign that the bond itself has become her priority, not what she can extract from it. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events, but from our judgments about events. A woman who loves you has made a judgment about your relationship that supersedes temporary pain, temporary conflict, temporary disappointment. The judgment is that this bond matters more than the discomfort of maintaining it. That judgment, sustained across time, through difficulty, through temptation, through every opportunity to choose herself over you, is the rarest thing you will ever find. And when you find it, you will understand why nothing else you have experienced compares. You now have the complete picture. 6 signs that cannot be faked. 6 behaviors that emerge only from genuine love. 6 patterns that separate the woman who has truly chosen you from the woman who is merely passing time. But before you leave this video, I need to give you something more important than the signs themselves. I need to give you the framework for what to do with this knowledge. Because knowing is not enough. What matters is how you apply what you now understand. Let me start with a warning. Some men will watch this video and use it to become paranoid. They will scrutinize every action their woman takes. They will test her constantly. They will search for failures instead of celebrating what is already present. This is a mistake. Schopenhauer wrote that the man who seeks happiness directly will never find it. Happiness is a byproduct of living correctly. The same is true of love. The man who constantly tests for love will destroy it. The anxiety becomes a poison. The scrutiny becomes a prison. The woman who once moved toward him freely begins to feel watched, judged, measured against a standard she can never fully meet. Do not become that man. The purpose of this knowledge is not surveillance. It is clarity. It is the ability to see what is already in front of you without the confusion that plagues most men. To recognize what you have, or to recognize what you do not have, so you can make decisions based on truth rather than hope. Robert Greene wrote that power comes from clarity of vision, from seeing things as they are, rather than as you wish them to be. This video has given you the lens, but the lens is meant for occasional use, not constant obsession. Look once, see clearly. Then put the lens away and live. Now let me tell you what these 6 signs reveal about what love actually requires. A woman cannot protect your energy if you have no energy worth protecting. A woman cannot defend your name if you have not built a name worth defending. A woman cannot close doors for you if you are not a man worth choosing exclusively. A woman cannot absorb your mission if you have no mission. A woman cannot witness your collapse with grace if you never allow yourself to be seen. A woman cannot sacrifice advantage for the bond if you have not created a bond worth sacrificing for. Do you understand what I am saying? These signs are not just tests of her. They are tests of you. They reveal whether you have become the kind of man who inspires this depth of love. A man with purpose. A man with direction. A man with the courage to be fully known. A man who builds something worth protecting. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should waste no time arguing about what a good man should be. We should simply be one. The same applies here. Waste no time arguing about what kind of woman you deserve. Become the man who naturally attracts the love you are seeking. This is not about manipulation. This is not about performance. This is about genuine transformation. About building yourself into someone whose presence calls forth devotion rather than demanding it. Nietzsche described the Übermensch, the man who transcends ordinary existence by creating his own values and living by them fully. When you become that man, you do not need to search for these 6 signs. They appear naturally because you have become someone worth loving at that depth. And if they do not appear, if you have done the work and built yourself into something genuine, and still the signs are absent, then you have information, painful information, but valuable. Information that frees you to seek elsewhere, rather than wasting years on someone whose heart was never truly available. Plato wrote about the forms, the perfect ideals that cast shadows on the wall of our experience. Most men fall in love with shadows, with performances of love, with words that sound like devotion but carry no substance behind them. This video has shown you what the form of real love actually looks like. Not the shadow, not the performance, the thing itself. Now you can tell the difference. Here is what I want you to do. If this video gave you something valuable, subscribe to the Shadow Mind. Not because I asked, but because you understand that this channel exists to give you the kind of knowledge that most men will never access. The psychology beneath the surface. The patterns that govern human behavior. The truth that no one else is willing to speak. More videos are coming. Deeper content. Harder truths. Every week, I will show you something about human nature that changes how you see the world. And I want to hear from you. In the comments, tell me which sign hit you the hardest. Which one made you think about your own relationship differently? Which one revealed something you had been afraid to see? Your comment does two things. It helps this video reach other men who need to hear this message. And it tells me what matters to you, so I can create more of what serves you best. We are building something here. A community of men who refuse to stay blind, who choose clarity over comfort, who understand that knowledge is the foundation of every meaningful life. Welcome to the Shadow Mind. I will see you in the next one.